The views and opinions expressed on Analyze This are entirely those of the on air participants and do not reflect those of the station's board, management, staff, or underwriters.
And good Friday morning, and welcome to another end of the week edition of Analyze This here on your NPR station in the U.S. Virgin Islands, WTJX FM 93.1, with yours truly, Neville James. Gorgeous day in Paradise, kind of warm for them island. I've been like that, but this is the time of year, September and October. I keep telling you about. Is our turn on the microphone for good morning, Kyle Fleming, the Power Hour in effect.
Good morning, good morning. Happy Friday, happy Power Hour.
Yeah, man. What going on? How's the Energy Office?
Energy Office is doing really well. We got through the September month with a couple of activities. We had a closeout of one of our more popular programs, the energy efficiency and renewable energy rebate program, our popular Energy Star, our 40% Energy Star appliance rebate. We started it off in, I believe it was early in the spring. We've had a really good and great participation across the territory, but the funding on that one runs out. It typically runs out pretty quickly. It lasted about 6 months this year. We were able to process almost 400 applications across the program period, but we stopped taking applications 2 weeks ago. But I think it was a very successful one. I'm glad to continue to lower the cost barrier to adopting Energy Star appliances, and it hopefully is a segue for a larger program that we have, which is the homes and here Energy Star or Energy Efficiency Rebate Program. We're gearing up to get that program off the ground, and that's going to be a much more abundantly funded program that's going to last not just a few months, but actually a few years. So we're looking forward to getting that off the ground as well.
Let me get it unfortunate stuff out of the way. What going on in St. Thomas of Wapan, to your knowledge?
Today, I think today is okay, but what's been going on?
Yeah, for the last month.
Yeah. No, I mean it's been a sequence of, I think, unfortunate affairs, if you will. There hasn't been one issue. At the times it's been, I think it started off with a fuel supply issue, then it transitioned into some generation challenges as well. I think we have gotten to a bit of a stabilization as of the last few days. There haven't been any rotating outages this week, or fewer rotating outages this week than the prior weeks before.
You also had a rotation on St. Croix.
Did have a rotation on St. Croix
on Tuesday.
Yeah, they were doing some repairs to Unit 17, but I think they were able to make progress on the repairs. So I think the rotation wasn't as robust as it was initially intended to be, but there was some load shedding at some point, because I know some people definitely made us aware of the outages. But I think that was less of a systemic issue. I think that was just a one-off for the moment on St. Croix. St. Thomas, I think we're still trying to flatten out some of. I think they've made some serious headway in getting back to stabilization for the moment. We're still working to get the Wordzillas on, fully transitioned to propane, and making sure that that transition and operation is smooth, while also trying to balance the legacy generation as well. So it's always a bit of a balancing act over there, but we're really hoping to see more stabilization of that operation here soon.
What's going to work, man? Long term?
I think it's going to be. I think
the biofuel approach that was supposed to be one of the benefits of going this route, is that sustainable?
I think there's some significant challenges to the biofuel with the type of engines that Wardzilla is operating, or not Wardzilla, the type of technology that is inherent to the reciprocating engine. I think trying to work out doing both, was presented as a novel and innovative choice in the beginning, and I think with that we're still seeing the the evolution of trying to make that work now. And I think ultimately, you ask the question, is it going to be sustainable? Well, I think part of it is we're going through the, I don't know if the guinea pig is the right way to phrase it, but we're going to be learning with the firm along the way. So the hope is that it gets to be sustainable. That was always the target. But the transition thus far has, just every time we feel like we're in a good place, like something else arises, and ultimately I think that dual fuel complexity with the reciprocating engines combined versus the gas turbines, I think we're seeing that in real time. Our gas turbines have been do like the ones that are capable of doing dual fuel, have proven an ability to do that. There's sometimes a challenge when they transition, but I think to get steady and consistent dual fuel operation, true dual fuel operation on a reciprocating engine, it is I think we talked about the other day. It's a learning curve that we're trying to flatten, but we're still on the climb at the moment.
Okay. The governor said, and the governor was on that 15 days ago. It was a Thursday when we had the heavy rain. He called into the show and he said that the Watchella folk were actually in the territory. Yeah,
they've been here. Them and I guess the team specifically responsible for the fuel pumps that handle the delivery of propane to those engines, which has been kind of the when areas of resolution they've been trying to target. So yeah, they've been, like I said, when I say we're doing this together, it's very much doing it together because the contract itself isn't going to be closed out until the product is operating as initially defined. So as we go through that process, Wardzilla, they can't hand over the keys fully until we get this thing actually working to expectations, right? The same way if you're building your house, they're not gonna hand it over till the all the paint is done, all the appliances are installed, and the cabinets are screwed in place. So we're very much so they're with us along this journey to fulfilling the expectation of the engagement of getting them working as they were initially prescribed. So I don't know if they're here. I'm not sure if they're still here today. I mean, it's going to be a back and forth because ultimately they've modified some of the initial equipment to work more effectively at delivering the dual fuel options. And so I think we're hopeful to get I don't have a timeline of when we're expecting full like installation and then commissioning of the modified components would be. We have a board meeting this month, so hopefully we get some insight into how that's progressing. But yeah, it's definitely a process. Let's just say that.
Mickey Lynch was on 2 weeks ago. Had a great conversation, and he was speaking about the history of WAPA because he put in a number of years there, maybe close to 35, 40.
Okay.
He was also the board chair after he left, and he spoke about a number of different options that were on the table. And one of the things, I think the underlying sentiment coming out of that was our unwillingness to take risk over the years. In principle, not just with energy and WAPA. Let's talk about risk. Now, I learned early, and I embraced the notion that you measure risk by the size of the reward. What we're doing when you have learned individuals labeling the Virgin Islands Water and Power Authority as a 60-year experiment that is not going to get better. Even if it's accurate, it still belongs to the people of the Virgin Islands. But aside from that, how do we measure risk as it relates to long-term investment? Or how would you do that in any application?
Yeah.
That would be justifiable, palatable to the ratepayers or to people, to our population in general, so that they could have confidence in why you take a risk in whatever venture we're dealing with.
I'll say it's a great question, because I think it's one that I think about a lot with what we go through right now. Part of risk, I think part of the risk acceptance is, one, being thorough and comprehensive in your initial assessment of all your options in front of you. Not just a simple pros and cons list, but a deep dive, the holistic like aspects of each option that could be laid out. And that's one of those things that is not, that's when we start talking about feasibility studies and modeling, where I know a lot of people sometimes are like, well, we don't have time to model, we just got to act. But ultimately, you're never going to be able to truly assess the risk if you're not actually thinking about the entire system of the solution. You can't just think of, hey, this burns a different fuel source that's cheaper. All right, it's got to be better, right? There's other pieces to being able to achieve, cheaper fuel burn than just the notion that this is one, one is the other. You really have to think about the entire system of, what would this alternative mean? Think about the logistics of, even accessing the plants and delivering fuel or generation that you choose to utilize. It really requires a far more in my opinion, and I wasn't there, I wasn't in the rooms, 10, 15 years ago when a lot of these decisions were being made. But ultimately, like, I think that when I look sitting here today and seeing the whole network of challenges that we encounter, I think ultimately, to me, it's clear that there was some gaps in how the full system was assessed. Also, I think part of that becomes as a result of we constantly find ourselves making decisions in desperate times, and that's not a effective forum in which to make sound and comprehensive decisions. Usually, if you're making a decision in desperation, you are making the quickest, the most, surface level beneficial option, because you don't have time to think through all of the other, risks that may be inherent to it. I think that's been one of our challenges, that we always find ourselves in, our back against the wall, on either a cost pain point or reliability pain point that we just need to, jump out of jump to the closest, thread that we could hold on to, or the next lifeline that we could hold on to. And that's not an effective way to engineer. That's not an effective way to design and develop. I think the third piece of that really is then looking at, when you do wear this risk, it should be incremental.
Yes,
you shouldn't
I support that.
You shouldn't try to. I would never experiment with everything, like the entire system at once.
Mm-hmm.
I'll give a perfect example. I'll give an example of a shortcoming, a risk that I took as a director of the energy office that hasn't panned out, but I've taken the loss or the lesson learned to then inform how I move forward. I've been on here talking a lot about electric vehicles, electrification. You know how big I am on that transition.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the areas of transition electrification that I've been trying to push was the public transportation. So you see how much our taxis on the road, Vitron on the road, especially in St. Thomas. There's so much people movement that happens over there via public transportation. And
it's big on St. Croix.
It's not as big, right? There's not as much daytime, tourists to move around, but there's still, St. Thomas outweighs the public or the taxi or the mass transit. Let's call it that, right? Mm-hmm. Whether it's public or private, the mass transit is more popular on St. Thomas. But I looked at those vehicles, they're all the F-250s, F-350s, the Sprinter vans. I'd be like, look, if we could try to chip away at that, transition that fleet, that's a very meaningful. Think about how much fuel between the taxis and the safaris across the territory, how much they use. I was like, all right, so how do we attack that through electrification? So we got three all-electric transit vans about 2.5 years ago, right? So that we integrated into two of which we integrated into the Vitron fleet. One of the challenges was the company that we bought that from, they didn't ground up engineer the solution. They took a Ford Transit van took the engine out and put an electric transit drivetrain in there. So they did a conversion. They didn't do it wasn't a ground up engineered solution.
Okay.
But they had proven they had been around in business for about over 10 years. Felt confident that they could be able to fulfill a lot of different governments had been utilizing them. Long story short, we brought them in. We integrated them into the fleet. Remember, 2, right? Vitron has, I don't even know how many vans they have, right? But we didn't go after the entire fleet. We said let's pilot this by introducing a few units into the fleet. In use, it worked out. The first couple months it was working well. Service issues started to show up, right? Again, this kind of comes back to this isn't a ground-up solution. The service issues came up. The company itself actually went bankrupt. So they actually went out of business. So they didn't even have service to support. So we ended up having now these vehicles not being able to serve the purpose that they were originally seeking to do, right? So this was a shortcoming. We were hoping to see years of value from these particular assets. Look at our other vehicles, like the Teslas that we brought in, the F-150s, all the other ground up engineered like legacy manufacturers. We've had no issues with those, but this attempt to try to disrupt the mass transit market, again we tried, at least it didn't work out, but we only started it tried it at a small scale. If I had went in and said, okay, we're taking the entire fleet, taking every bus, and every bus is going to this manufacturer, and then it all failed, then where would we be? Then we wouldn't have mass transit, right? And that's what I thinking about how we look at incremental. When I look at when I look at some of the things that how we kind of approach the transition on generation so far, it's like we're trying something new, this dual fuel, and it's innovative, but we also are doing it at a scale that when it has an issue, it's 50% of our base load is at risk by trying to problem solve and maximize this innovation. And so my thought is, if I were to do it, my approach is to be incremental and get the reality is incremental doesn't have the snap of the finger, immediate instant gratification. Like, hey, it's all in right away. However, it's a not necessarily safer in one way, but it's a more prudent way to approach major shifts. Because that way, if you do have issues, at least you're finding out those issues at a smaller scale, as opposed to trying to flatten that learning curve at the system level, which is actually where we are right now. So that's really those 3 pieces: comprehensive initial assessment of all the options, trying not to make a decision in times of desperation, because ultimately you ignore the comprehensive analysis portion of it. You could just kind of rush to the closest lifeline. And 3, be more incremental in how we introduce risk into our mix, so that way we don't end up at a in another
a ground zero.
Yeah, and find ourselves at another point of desperation, right?
Yeah, but so let me ask this question. But we'll take a break. I want you to think about this. What about incorporating in-house servicing potential as a result of the commitment? In other words, a company providing something for you, and they should bring some serviceability. But what about us developing our own within the government, because we are government agencies? So think about that. We'll take a break. We'll be back right after this. And we're back here to analyze this. The Power Hour, the October 2025 edition is in effect. We live streaming via Facebook and the YouTube channel. So that's a good thing. So you see me in my fedora. You know what I mean? With the braids them kind of like, no, they kind of hanging out. So, you know what I mean? No, just having some fun. And we got my good friend Kyle Fleming for Mavis here in the studio. Morning.
Good morning. Actually, I gotta give it an early shout out. Her birthday is October 12th coming up.
Yeah? Yeah, next week Sunday.
Next week Sunday,
okay.
Yeah.
Happy birthday up front, mommy. I'm glad. God bless you and all that stuff. You know, I like the fact that we were talking about it in the break. I told you I was going to say it. I like the fact that you have admitted that you took some risk and it didn't pan out. Because, unlike last night, right? You know, of course, the focus last night, you know, for me was Yankees and Red Sox, right? Sorry. I know you. I'm not saying you're a Red Sox fan, but I know you. Boston is near and dear.
I've been to more Red Sox games than Yankee games.
That's what I'm talking about, right? Near and dear. So we put that thorn temporarily put out on the side so we could focus on something else. Specifically, the Toronto Blue Jays beginning tomorrow. Anyway, that's for later on. So I even forgot, like for like the most of the first half that Thursday night football was going on.
Yeah,
with Frisco and the Rams.
The Rams, yeah.
Right? That's a real division rivalry going.
That was a great game, by the way.
Yeah, so I saw the win name was up. San Francisco was up early, and then it came down to when it went to overtime and all that stuff. So game done, and people are trying to say, well, why never bringing that up when we're talking about what Kyle Fleming just said with respect to accepting the blame. Well, here's what happened. The score was tie. Goes to overtime. Frisco scores a field goal. Rams are driving. They're in field goal position. 4th and 1, and the coach goes for the win. He decides, well, I'm not going to kick the field goal and take the tie. I'm trying to win, which I found admirable. So on the 4th and 1, the play failed. So when the press conference comes around, the coach McVay said, blame it on me. I should have called a better play. Now, he could have said, well, I thought I called the right play, and the players didn't execute. But as the coach, he did what a leader is supposed to do, right? And that's what we're thinking about when you said, we try something, even though it didn't pan out. It's my fault. Luckily, how I tried it, not just that I tried it, but how I tried it, wasn't that painful, right? I think that's right.
That's a good way to put it. Mm-hmm.
Right, and you were trying to do it incrementally, and that's the good way to do it. And that's the reason why I asked the question early on, because when Mickey was here, Mickey was saying there were a number of things he wanted to try, and they wanted to do it somewhat small scale, but there was resistance. Remember when we had the conversation one day, and John Abramson told us about the OTEC?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
And you were explaining to us how OTEC, how we would have to structure it in order for it to work, the things that we would need.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And Mickey brought that up. He said, we looked at that. Remember John Wilson told us Salterville was an area they were looking at, right, for all that stuff. And Mickey brought that up. So that was validation of what John was saying. Now, whether or not it was going to be successful or the likelihood of it being successful based on percentages is what it is. But you can't keep doing the same thing over and over again and aim panning out and expect the ratepayers to accept it.
Right.
You check what I'm saying? So, the Wartzilla thing in St. Thomas, I would think is something new, relatively speaking, in the 65-year window, which started in 59 or 60, whenever it was in WAPA. Maybe new ain't the right word, but it was a step where we're trying to literally diversify the ability to determine which commodity we're going to use at a particular time. Mm-hmm. right? That's a good way to say it. Where
That's a good way to say it. I think the only challenge with saying it that way, it makes it seem as if the only way that we could have diversified is by doing it that way, and that's the part of the challenge.
Not at all.
Yeah.
I'm aware of that, right? And we're struggling. One of the things that we had a discussion on the table talk, and we were saying, okay, it was me, Dwayne, Rocky, and Ducks, and we were looking up where Watsilla Bay and all that stuff, Finland and all that stuff, right? So we're talking about that. So I said, I remember 20 years ago when I went to the Caribbean Basin Initiative Conference at the Intercontinental Hotel in Miami. This is it every December. And Barbados was bragging about how a commitment to solar in 2005 was like printing money. Right? So they were ahead of it. Now, seriously, the man literally said, it's like printing money. They were saving money. Wow. Man were bragging. And I was like, wow. So I asked this question to Rocky, Dwayne, and Dr. and I'm going to ask it to you. So we were going through with Watsilla. Watsilla got investments all over the world, right? Malaysia and all them things, right? And some in Congo, somewhere in Africa and all that stuff, right? Why aren't we talking more to Barbados and folks in the region who they are wrong us, as opposed to talking to folks who are based in Scotland and Scandinavia and all that stuff, just on the surface? Yeah.
Well, so I think I would say this. We definitely are. I definitely am. And I think actually some of the leadership other leadership is also. And I think that there's some realm where the challenges in our region are, I always say, down the chain. What's that? The Lesser Antilles.
Yeah.
Right. Because the Greater Antilles, the Puerto Ricos, the Santo Domingo, or Dominican Republic, Cuba, Jamaica. Yeah. They're all on such different scales that
Correct.
They're not even relevant. But everything basically between here and I guess you could lump Trinidad in, but Trinidad is also different because they also used to produce their own fossil fuel, and so they're and have a total different infrastructure. So, let's say Grenada to St. Croix. We all are. If you look at, I don't think anybody's really approaching the issue too differently, and we definitely have communicated. I think the biggest difference is all of those other nations are all diesel fired, and most of them are typically fired actually in. You'll find Wardzilla. So I bring up Angola all the time. Angola has Wardzilla diesel generation as part of their mix too. They've got
Angola. Yeah.
Angola. It's not exclusive. They have about 4 different generators, but their generators are way smaller. I mean, they're only doing 16 megawatts compared to St. Croix alone is doing 40 megawatts.
Educate me. What's the population on there?
15 to 16,000.
15 to 16,000.
Yeah,
that's a small population.
Very small,
right? And what's the square miles?
It's the same. It's actually the same square mileage as St. Thomas, so it's about
32, 33.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's almost the same footprint as St. Thomas, but just all flat.
All flat, yeah.
So I guess technically St. Thomas may have more physical landscape because you're going up the hill, you got some more room, but it's the same footprint.
So it's the footprint of St. Thomas, but the topography at St. Croix.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. They are exactly, and we're. I mean, even more so because it's. I would say it's a topography of South Shore, because they ain't even got the little.
Oh yeah.
Beeston Hills and
the north side, the northwestern.
No, ain't got none of that. It's
and
South Shore.
Washington and Mount Washington up there.
Yep,
right?
exactly. Yeah. It's Art Farm to Estate Pearl, and south of the Enfield Green, like that. That's Angola from
that's it.
End to end.
Yeah.
But they have Wardzilla, and again, Wardzilla itself is relatively. I don't know how many islands they are, how they have installations, but again, it's diesel is the way that they operate. So the generation, the units is the same company, but the units are different because they're configured to just do diesel and only do diesel. Where the ones that we have here are either configured to do propane, and the newer ones are now configured to attempt to do both diesel and propane. And so we're all kind of, in terms of having that conversation, they're all the islands are looking at doing solar. I mean, I actually talked with the team from Angola regularly, and they're ramping up to start integrating solar to offset their fuel consumption. If you go down the chain, you have places like Dominica right now are doing they actually have 10 megawatts of geothermal that they're aiming to bring online, I think, by the end of this year, if not already kind of ramping that up. But that's a resource they have that we don't have. You have islands like St. Vincent that have hydropower. And so, everyone's kind of working whatever resource they have at arm's reach to try to displace the diesel generation. I think the only challenge with us kind of talking is that we all have different resources, right? Dominica has geothermal. St. Vincent has hydro. We don't have those. We have solar. We have a lot of flat space for solar, especially on St. Croix. So, we all are, but the goal we're ultimately trying to achieve is the same ultimate outcome of trying to become more independent of imported fossil fuels, or if we are going to be reliant on imported fossil fuels, let's ensure that we're doing it the most efficiently as possible. So I think those conversations are happening. I mean, I've been doing a lot of conferences recently. I was just at one in New York. I was just at Climate Week in New York last week, presenting.
What New York? And they tell me, man.
I was there for like 36 hours. Landed on Monday. Had a speaking engagement on Tuesday.
Left Wednesday morning.
On Wednesday morning.
Yeah, man. Still though. You know what I mean? I gotta deal with that. Check. Not just easy.
But as I said, the conversation is certainly happening. But I think ultimately, like everyone has a little bit different flavor. Also, too, down island they have different. For example, we have the federal government that provides certain incentives for development of energy projects here. They have to rely on like either the World Bank or the Caribbean Development Bank. Different institutions that need to support their investments. So it's
what's our relationship to your knowledge with CARICOM?
What did we recently signed? I think the governor recently engaged. I don't know exactly how it's, if we've been like included in it, if it was CARICOM or I think it was CARICOM. I think we've been kind of almost like brought in, but almost as like, I won't say honorary, but like again, we don't have the same influence, and
we're not a full member. We're not a member of CARICOM.
I don't believe so, but I do remember the government made an announcement about it. Maybe it was like a year ago, maybe a year and a half ago. That was going to improve our relationship. I mean, we definitely participate in. There's a number of like CARILAC, which is essentially like the electric utility kind of wing of CARICOM.
Okay, we didn't this technological word. So there's an AI. There's an AI overview of the Virgin Islands and CARICOM. So here we go.
There we go.
The U.S. Virgin Islands is developing a functional cooperation relationship with CARICOM, which is the Caribbean community, leading to discussions and a memorandum of understanding aimed at enhancing collaboration on economic sectors like agriculture, tourism, and technology, as well as addressing regional challenges such as climate change, disaster recovery, and maritime connectivity. This move signifies an upgraded partnership, building on prior functional cooperation to integrate the U.S. VIEO more closely with the wider Caribbean region. And this makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, we're here. We're in the region. So I would like say, because we were talking about Mia Matley and how she's so respected globally. Right, Barbados. Even Barbados is really a big island.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, and that's why, if we dare wrong them, ain't nothing wrong with us going there, them coming here, looking at what's working for us, what's working for them. We ain't got to copy it in full, but there's nothing wrong with a little incorporation.
Well, I think one of the conversations that I tend to have is that let's balance a little bit of what you're saying, because like I want to make sure it's definitely not misunderstood that like pushing the envelope, being innovative, trying new things is something that we shouldn't do. Right? And I think I'm all for making sure that we are at the leading edge of technology, especially that can be transferable to down the chain. And I think the uniqueness of the Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico to a certain extent compared to the rest of the region is the American flag that flies over us that allows us to go after $500 million. Not go after, to get $500 million plus to rebuild our power plant on the through the FEMA's prudent replacement program, right? We have an opportunity to do something that there's no Caribbean island down the chain that would have access to a grant of that kind.
So I'm saying,
like they the only way that they could even the only way they get those resources is through financing it, which means that they are paying back every penny plus interest on the investment, plus then having to realize the operational and efficiency savings of it. All we really have to do is worry about the operational efficiency. We don't even have to think about the capex, and I think that's again that puts us in a different game because again we just have access to opportunities that no other island outside of Puerto Rico has access to because of the federal government. I think how we leverage that opportunity to be I don't want to say the poster child, but to I think be prudent about the innovations that we develop that are actually transferable down the chain. I think that we do have a unique opportunity to do that. I think about how a lot of the programs I try to develop and strategies to try to employ, I'm always thinking about not just how they work for the Virgin Islands, but how they can work in the other islands because they have such a similar footprint of operation and challenges as well. I think that's key for us because we have this R&D budget, if you will, that again is unspeakable in the other segments of the Caribbean. I think it should be on us, but ultimately right now we're unfortunately again I think we're not in the best state of R&D mode because we're still trying to stabilize, right? Typically you're deploying your R&D when everything is, you already got a great foundation, you're already stabilized, and now you're just trying to find new ways to kind of add on, compound your benefits. We're kind of in a hybrid position at this point, but the opportunity is still there.
Well, I'm glad you used that terminology. I tell you now, I bite in it because it looked like we there in perpetual R&D governance. Check. So I gonna let you know right now, and we gonna get out of that. That's the most important thing, right? Because we then this 8 furlong race and the 7 furlong coming to an end in December. Time to fly. I mean, yesterday when you came on, as the energy office director, and that was 2019, my brother.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So we take a break, come back, and we'll be back right after this to talk a little bit more futuristically. Be back right after this. And we're back here to analyze this. Kyle Fleming, my friend, for 5 years now. We had our first conversation in the summer of 2020, and it's been a good relationship ever since.
A long way from COVID, man.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That one was rough, man. Yeah. But we're better people because of that, you know. Mm-hmm. I know some people lost loved ones. So we can't really diminish,
right?
You know what I'm saying? How painful it was for certain, you know, families and all that stuff. Right. But as it relates to the territory, you know, I think we're better as a result of it. And we actually, you know, managed it better than a lot of different places. Right. You know what I'm saying? Like the word portal never existed until and our tourism portal with Richie Mota and who was in charge of tourism, Joe Washalti them and all that stuff, put that together. And
you have to have that green QR code.
Yeah. What's her name? The girl for Ross. She's working at tourism. Not Jamalia. The next one, Nelia. Right?
Okay.
She's working there, and they work on that. And so I want to make sure we get them a shout out. And
sure.
Remember they had this model. I keep talking about it, and people probably saying, Neville, I was bringing that up. That they were forecasting how many deaths you're gonna have in your state and all that stuff. And when they put that, my one of my, like, he's like a big brother to me, Wingrove Linton, sent me the article. I'll never forget it. Like around Labor Day 2020, and he said, man, they're forecasting 300 to 500 deaths in the Virgin Islands and all that stuff. And I just laugh and I said to myself, first of all, they don't even realize that half of we don't really have anything to do with the other half. Yeah. and it ain't like well, it's because one live in Spokane and one live in Seattle. Right. Where you could drive from Spokane, you literally separated because you water involved. You know what I mean? So that was. If it's one thing we should learn is that one size fit all thing don't apply. Don't apply. Check. So good. Let me do me a favor. Explain to the public the difference between the Wartsila infrastructure for St. Thomas and St. John and the Agreco lease for St. Croix.
Yeah. So there are a couple of things. I can start with the technology wise and kind of the arrangement. So they're both the Wardzillas, on St. Thomas and the Grecos here. They're all based on the same like technology, which is we call it RICE. If you ever hear people say RICE with WAPA, they're talking about a reciprocating engine, which is just another way of saying it's the same type of engine that's in your car, just at a much larger scale. The configuration for a Greco, it's literally if you the Greco, we say the name, but if you walked into the plant, it's literally 20 large car engines in containers that all burn propane, and it's owned by the company Agreco, and they operate it. And so we pay Agreco a monthly fee to essentially have those 20 large car engines sitting on the site, producing about 20 megawatts of power for us. And we pay obviously for the fuel that it takes to burn it, but we pay that company to operate 20 megawatts of increments of small car engines that meet that goal. Wardzilla, on the other hand, is even larger car engines, but it's the exact same technology, just at a much larger scale. And the only difference being that the phase 2 was designed to burn both propane and diesel, whereas, for example, the Agrecos only burn propane. The other difference there, we're actually going to own those units. So we paid for those units, or the grant funding paid for those units. So at the end of the completion and the commission of the project, it's not going to be Wardzilla owning the assets and operating us, and we paying them a monthly fee to operate to have access to them. WAPA will own the assets. We'll pay an O&M fee for them to service and maintain them, but ultimately it's WAPA's own assets. So those are the biggest. So those are two. So the technology is the same base level technology, just at different scales. So Agreco, a bunch of small car engines or large car engines, and Wardzilla, larger car engines. and one is owned outright by WAPA, which is Wardzilla, or once it's done, it'll be owned by WAPA outright, and Aggreko is those assets will never belong to us. I believe, actually, I think recently they announced that we actually are having the, as part of the prudent replacement process, they're actually treating Aggreko. Aggreko is always intended to be temporary. We got this lease not because we wanted to have them forever, but it was supposed to help us bridge the gap between, transitioning to the next phase of generation. But like many things here, our crutch becomes or the bridge never really has an end.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but because it was initially conceived to be temporary, that's what's allowing, I think, the prudent replacement funding to qualify to offset those lease costs. So that's reducing some of our operating costs. But don't want to drift away from the real thing. So one is a lease that we don't own and will never own, but the technology is relatively similar. One we will own at the end. And that's kind of the base. I don't know if that answers, if that kind of makes sense, if I probably put too much words to explaining that.
No, it makes sense. What about this generator project that makes so much sense and is so needed for St. John?
Yeah, the piece there is really just getting generation closer to the load, which is, I could go on a million riffs on that and why that's important, but ultimately right now, we're producing power in Richmond, in Harley, and passing it along transmission lines, substations, undersea cable, all that stuff to get to.
And when John Greer, before he died, mentioned that this, I don't know if it was a FEMA project or just a Department of Energy or something like that, but it was something that the Virgin Islands got, a commitment to. It made so much sense because when hurricanes hit and St. John being 100% dependent on those line generation and transmission, it makes sense to have that generator over there while we fix while we address, the recovery mode. But after hurricane.
But think of it like this: we don't even need a hurracane. We don't even need a hurricane to make
know
them vulnerable.
We
right?
know that now. We've seen the fragility. You know what I'm saying? So we know that.
So we always, that's
my word for the year, by the way.
Fragility.
Yeah. When Erin brushed us and people were out of power for 28 hours in St. Thomas and St. John, and for that brush, that was, so I came on the Monday and said it exposed the fragility. And so we're trying to figure out if the word exists, and it does, you know what I'm saying? So, so that's the word for the year.
It exists and should be used quite often down here.
It's applicable, you know what I'm saying? But we need that generator in St. John, man, oh gosh.
Yeah, and right now I think so it was always conceived to be a generator plus energy storage. I think right now the focus is going to be on, the first phase of it is going to be getting the energy storage system there, because energy storage would still, if you were to put a battery, when we put a large enough battery on St. John, it would suffice right now, like the intermittent issues that we have, right? So like, for example, if you could easily put a large enough battery on St. John that even if St. Thomas is going through a 2-hour, 3-hour rotation, you have enough storage in the battery to be able to suffice St. John for those 2 to 4 hour outage windows. So without even having generation on St. John, an appropriately sized battery could already keep St. John, could serve the need of having St. John ride through an outage that may be happening on St. Thomas. And that's kind of phase one of the project, is to get the battery in there. But ultimately, like the goal is to just move, whether it be moving generation, moving energy storage, you're moving it closer to the actual point of need. And I just want to give a relative concept maybe for the buzzword that people are familiar with, right? This is not this concept is very common across the industry, but if you think about what's even happening right now with the data center boom across the U.S., I was just on my way coming in here today. I'm an energy nerd, so I listen to energy podcasts all the time. And one of the big movements now is that a lot of these data centers that are being built, they're moving, instead of just plopping a data center down and tying it into the existing grid, a lot of these data centers are building power systems on site, co-located with the data centers as well. It's solving a number of issues. One, it takes a long time these are huge loads. It takes a long time to get approval to tie into the even the grids in the US. And so sometimes it's easier for them to just, hey, let's bring our generation that same location where we're going to be doing all this data processing. So the concept of moving the generation closer to where it's actually needed is something that is seeing it across the industry. It makes sense. We've been trying to do it for a while. I can't speak to why it's taking so long. I apologize to St. Johnny because it's a concept we've been talking about. And but I could say right now, it's been phased. The approach now is to phase it, with the first phase being energy storage, getting a battery on St. John. And again, you put that battery in place, and all the other pieces, whether it be generation, renewables, new generators, all of that would still be coupled to the existing battery. But you get that battery in place. The second you put that battery in place and turn it on, you've already got automatic backup at an island level. So that's kind of the increments there that are going to be.
Because I got some people in St. John, man. They need this. At least a sense of relief that they're, for two reasons. Number one, that they're not totally dependent on Randolph Valley plant, right? And number two, that we have the ability to provide for ourselves.
Right.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I wanted that to happen for them, and I thought it was a brilliant idea, a necessary idea. Apparently, I had one way back in the day. Right? Yeah. One more thing I want to say in defense of why it hasn't happened. Yeah. In identifying the location, they found that there might have been a graveyard or two where they had looked at to put a generator.
Yeah.
So they found that. I just want to say that. I don't want
give
the impression that it's just negligence and they didn't want to do it or they're incapable of doing it. They did identify location and then some challenges. I think Andy Smith had told me that.
Yeah, and it was, I remember I only realized that, or I only learned about that pre-existing site. I think it was it last, I think it was when we had the major transmission issues on St. John last May, when I think it was almost like 2 weeks. I think it was like almost like 2 weeks of blackouts on St. John because the transmission line went down, and we were trying to fast track, what this needed solution is to be able to get them back online so this vulnerability doesn't exist. And we kept talking about this, the challenges of trying to put the generator in, I think it was Fish Bay or Frank Bay, I forget, I think that's what they were trying to do. And through this conversation, they were like, well, yeah, it would tie into this substation. I was like, wait, where's this substation? They're like, this substation where the generator used to be. I was like, wait, hold on, we already had a generation tie-in site. I was like, why wasn't that? I honestly, again, didn't know about it before.
That's the logical question. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, I just thought, again, why I wasn't clear. I mean, I don't know if there was damage to that site. I didn't know any of the details really of it. But my left to my own devices, my first, I would have done everything I could to utilize the existing interconnection point and design around that, as opposed to trying to break. But again,
the logical application.
But I thought, I mentioned earlier,
sometimes logic escapes us.
Sometimes, but I didn't know the whole process. I wasn't there for maybe there was some other risk involved.
Let me give you some advice. And I learned this from being a Senate president. When you got that ability to call a shot, ever so often, call it.
Yeah.
You were once the chair, right, of the WAPA board, right? And I went through that. I have one regret. I remember when we won some case, $8 million, and before I could even call a shot as a Senate president, they had done undermine me. WAPA, Julio Reyma, MAP, Senator Sanders, the Chamber of Commerce, all them, but we need all that money. Out of the 8.1 million, we need 8 to pay WAPA because the hospital them ain't paying the bills and all them stuff. And and that was like 9 years ago, and I'm saying to myself, if I had to do that over again, they could have get 4 or 6. I should have never commit to that whole 8. You know what I'm saying? So same thing, one thing I learned, check, when that power position presents itself and you got the ability to flex, sometimes they go do it. Quickly, 2 quick questions. Will consumers, will the price for the consumers, this one of my schoolmate them, will the price for the consumer lessen when WAPA has ownership for the Wartzillers and total control and ability to manage?
So the price reduction wouldn't come necessarily from the ownership of it.
What would it come from?
It should come from the efficiency
Okay,
in the amount of fuel that we need. So it should reduce the amount of fuel that we need. That's where the cost savings will come from.
Okay, good. Secondly, the power generation for those data centers, right, are causing environmental and fire hazards, as there are lithium batteries that are very volatile when they catch on fire. They simply have to burn out because fire departments are not equipped to put them out. Now, this is in general with data centers. It's a factual thing, though. I agree with this.
So I think
So what kind of protective measures we put in place against that negative potential?
So a couple of things. So one, when we think about the generation for the data centers, yes, there are some battery solutions, but a lot of times they're actually looking at putting gas turbines or gas engines, because they need, remember, a data center needs 24/7 operation, right?
Correct.
So they may be using the batteries as they may be one of the pieces of the puzzle. And yes, they need to have the protection in place, but they're not the only component to providing power to data centers.
Good thing. Great power hour.
Yeah,
October. Look, November the 7th, right?
Okay.
And I want to be the whole 2 hours.
All right.
So you know, right? November the 7th, okay? Because I'm going. Remember I tell you I'm going on that trip?
Yeah.
I have to make some changes, so I ain't going to do the line drive again. I'm going to let you know about that.
All right, plan that.
So-
We'll promote that one too.
Yeah, okay, good. Be back right after this. Power Hour for October 2025 is in the book. Kyle Fleming, thank you very much, my brother. And take care, my man. Enjoy your vacation. Thank you.
The views and opinions expressed on Analyze This are entirely those of the on-air participants and do not reflect those of the station's board, management, staff, or underwriters. The views and opinions expressed on Analyze This are entirely those of the on-air participants and do not reflect those of the station's board, management, staff, or underwriters.
And we're back here on Analyze This, and I want to thank Kyle Fleming for making the October 2025 edition of Analyze This a good one. Okay, looking forward to the November discussion. So you heard, right, that we're going to do it on the 7th of November, right? Today is the 3rd, and next week is the 10th. And whenever you got 4 weeks from the 10th, the next month is the 7th. Right? That's the first, the last possible day of the first week, the 7th, will be the November edition of Analyze This. And of course, you know, I don't know, since 2021, that I like to do my Breeders' Crown and Breeders' Cup run-ins, right? So the last part of October and the first part of November, I'm out and about, right? So this year, the Breeders' Crown, which is harness racing, that's in Toronto. I'm not sure, you know, if I'm actually attending that one. There's a possibility. Because remember, I told Kyle that I was looking to drive from Kentucky to Toronto with an overnight in Detroit. So trying to figure out that one. And he wanted me to do some recon with battery and all that stuff. So, you know, trying to do that one. But I had to modify the logistics and all that stuff. Because I might have to come back home in between. Because the Breeders' Cup now, which is horse racing, that's in San Diego. Right? And me and my boys from the Rock, I got a group of them. We don't hang out over there all the time. And, let me get a shout out to Boogie and Papi and all them man over there. Hail up. And Winston Benjamin, you know, real husband them from over in the Rock. So, you know. Hugo, one time Hugo been there when I went to Del Mar in 2021. Hugo was there. You know, so that's just how we are here in the VA. You know, we're that man business, but it's a small world. Eventually people going to find out. So, working logistics and all that stuff. So, I know that if I don't hear from me, them weekends, right? That would be the weekend of the 24th and Friday the 24th and Halloween Friday. The 31st, the following Friday, is because they're out and about. What they be? Where not over there? Yeah. Right there? Okay. And so I don't know. So I know. Right? And don't forget next week I go call Malik Siku to find out which day works for him. So Malik, if you're listening, let me know either Thursday or Friday next week via Puerto Rico Friendship. Okay? Let me know which week come on so we could talk about our history with Virgin Islands and La Boricua. You know what I'm saying? Okay, it's rich. Period. You know that. So we got Sheleene Gumbs joining us from the Women's Coalition. October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. So we're going to talk with her for a couple of segments. And then the last segment of the show, we're going to talk about something else. All that good stuff. So, Ms. Gumbs, how you doing?
I'm good.
Turn on the microphone there. My name is Gumbs. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing well.
Enjoying your view from your office.
I just took a photo.
I like this seat over here better than the one over there, man. This is good.
Then I hook you up. So I just took a photo because I was trying to catch the seaplane was landing, and I got a little crack in between. I was trying to time it, but it didn't work out. But I look at the photo. I said, man, that's a lovely photo anyway.
Yes,
so,
it is.
So
it is.
So big month for Women's Coalition in Croix.
Yes, it is. October is one of our main months. April being the next one, but October is our main month when we focus on domestic violence and how family violence impacts the family and impacting the family there in impacting the community. And so, we want to bring awareness to it. I mean, like we do it all the months, but this one is the one that's designated by Congress and all the rest of it for October to be the main month that we do this. So we have a lot of things going on this month, and we just want everybody to come out. I know you have to share it because breast cancer is going on at this point as well. But, we just want to make sure that we remember domestic violence. And, strangely enough, there's more people killed by domestic violence than breast cancer. But, it's always sad to lose anybody. And so both causes are important. But we're focusing on how we can make our family better. And in making our families better, how our community becomes a better place. Stopping the secrets and all the other things that we do and don't talk about because we try to make it cultural, but it's not.
Yeah, it ain't limited to us.
At all.
So we got to clear it. I know we good at beating up ourselves, but what we're dealing with here is I mean, it's not just, and we're not justifying it. It's just the reality of the deal.
Right.
Human behavior is what it is, and we're trying to rein it in. So you did have some, I want to say events, but October 1st.
Well, yeah, it was VI Purple Day, and we started the Purple Ribbon campaign. If anybody needs purple ribbons, there's some sites that have already, and I didn't work with the list, bad me. But, if you need purple ribbons, just call the office, 773-9272. Call us on, the regular line, or call us on WhatsApp so you can get the purple ribbons for where you're at. I brought some for the radio station up here.
Okay,
so, you can do that. We just want to be able to help. And one of the reasons why we do the Purple Ribbon campaign is like most people don't know how to be an advocate. They feel like it's a lot of work that goes into it. But if you wear a ribbon, somebody else feels safe knowing that somebody is aware of the fact that these things happen and that they're not alone. Because one of the things that happens with a lot of victims, especially, with me being the director of crisis intervention now, but being the crisis counselor for like the last 30 years, is that most people don't realize how many people go through it. Right? Because they dress it up and they call it something else. And we kind of feel that domestic violence is only domestic violence when somebody get hit. Right? But that's the end of it. It doesn't start like that. Nobody gets into a relationship with somebody that's going to slap them the first date. You know what I mean? There's this nicety that happens at the beginning and then it turns into something else. So, abusive relationships starts with the verbal abuse, the emotional abuse, the psychological abuse, the sexual assault, the financial abuse, which is really, 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 really big in our community. And just being able to have power and control over somebody else's life and put them in a position where they don't feel that they can get out of it.
October the 4th, tomorrow.
Yes.
We got supermarket wish list campaign.
Yes, and that's happening at the markets and at Cost You Less. It's from 9 to 3. We'll be there from 9 to 3. And we have a wish list that you can, purchase things off of. And everything that is given to the office gets given out from the office. So if we have people come in and they don't have stuff, and we're literally out of a lot of the things that we got last year. Most people don't realize that, like, even the people that come in, the homeless people that come in that they need something, somebody's house has burned. We have survivors of homicide as well as domestic violence and sexual assault, trafficking, and, sexual harassment and stalking. If they come in and they need something, then we have it at the office and we give it to them. Because you know how funding goes, like we're not able to give cash to people. So we give them the items. And Closet to Closet will be opening next week. It's been closed for a while because we needed to clean up and get rid of do some repairs. So Closet to Closet is the thrift store that we have in Peter's Rest. And what happens there is that you come to the office, you tell us what you're going through, and then we can give you a voucher to Closet. And then you go down to Closet. And even though it's a thrift store and the prices are low, you're still able to pick up those things for free. Because, most people don't take into consideration that $5 is a lot when you don't have no money, right? And just to be able to get to us and to get back to home, that's $5 that you may not have. So you can't stop and pick up something and buy something in between, that kind of stuff. So we try to look at people's finances and make it as easy on them as we can.
When you mentioned that, my mind ran a story I had with my employee one day in my office. And I said, Belo, right? If you got two men sitting down, and one of them got $80 in their pocket, and one ain't have a dime in the pocket, and you give each of them $20, the net gain is the same, which is $20 more for both of them. But I'm willing to bet the $20 that the man who ain't had a dime get is more valuable.
Correct.
Because now he's in the game.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So when you mention that $5 there as a lot of money, people are kind of, saying, what she talking about, $5 money? But then you qualify it and say, when you ain't have none.
Exactly.
You check what I'm saying?
Right.
So that's oxygen.
Exactly.
Pretty much that's what it is. So you're absolutely correct.
Yeah.
And that's the first. October 4th is going to be the first.
The first supermarket.
The first of two.
Yes.
Right, they got a supermarket wish list campaign 2 weeks later again on the 18th.
On the 18th, yes.
Okay, that's good.
Try to, if we...
So the market, that's down there by St. Joseph School.
Yes. It used to be Plaza West. Right. I just still call it so. Forget the people them change the name.
No, but you're right. So shout out to Wally them, right?
Right.
Wally them, right? And all that good stuff and Safi, right? And then Cartulas in the east. So the natural complainers, they can't complain. You got both sides of the island, right?
Correct.
But they gonna still complain.
Of course.
Of course. Right. Then next week, you got immigration and victims of domestic violence, sexual assault, and their rights. A virtual forum taking place next week from 5:30 to 7:30 on Wednesday.
Yes.
That's this Wednesday coming up.
This Wednesday coming up.
October the 8th. Talk about what to expect about it.
Well, we everybody went into a panic because of all the things that were happening with, immigration and ICE and the stuff that's happening on the mainland. And, a lot of people got into confusions as to what was happening and how domestic violence victims are affected. One of the things that has been happening for a long time here is that people use the fact that people are in between. Like, a lot of people have permission to be here, but their paperwork isn't done, and they use that as a tool to control them. Right. And it happens a lot of different ways. Like, some people come and they're fine. They get into a relationship, and a legitimate relationship. I'm not talking about the people who, a lot of people get married for papers. I'm talking about people in a legitimate relationship. They used to go down to where they were. They had a relationship with them down there. They had children and all the rest of it. And then they come up. And if you overextend it, then you're now undocumented, not intentionally on your part, but because of the power and control. Because when people get people anywhere, they start to treat them differently. We have people that move here from the States who are completely documented. And when they get here and they're isolated from their families and friends, the domestic violence happens. But because we've had a lot of people who are concerned, people with green cards, people who are U.S. citizens that weren't born here but become naturalized, everybody has been concerned about what's going on with the immigration thing, right? And so we just wanted to kind of have somebody, from an attorney and somebody from, the federal government come in and talk to us a little bit about, so we could get some of those questions answered in terms of what is actually going on and what to expect, especially for the DV victims and the, survivors of crime, because it's a big thing. It's a big thing, and it's a big fear that a lot of people have.
I don't know how I've restrained myself. This is October. But some of them instances there where they're running and tackling people and throwing them down on the ground and all that kind of stuff. That's inhumane, man.
And separating them from their children.
Yeah, man. That I mean.
And babies at that is just
bad.
Bad.
Yeah, man. And then what a big problem is though? The misinformation.
Correct.
The propaganda.
Right.
Would it be on the Democratic side, Republican side, independents, all that stuff. That misinformation. And I can tell you something. I didn't realize the amount of vitriol and hate that people have for immigrants.
You would be surprised. You would be surprised because a lot of people don't
America
understand
has
the
bragged
history
for centuries that it is a nation of immigrants.
Yes.
And to hear how people talking about immigrants, like as if they come from a different planet.
Yeah.
That's frightening.
It is.
And that's just another wrinkle, another variable. When you factor it in why you're here, because so just think about this potential, right? You're living in a neighborhood, and I'm talking about documented immigrants, right? And there's a quarrel that breaks out next door. You would think that the natural, desire would be for I want it to calm down. I don't want it to escalate into something that could be fatal, or it could lead to something very, very bad. There are people, the way they're talking, it was like, well, we don't care. We want them to kill themselves.
Yeah.
That's the kind of sentiment I get in from people.
Yeah.
Based on how they feel about immigrants.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And as one, my mother from Antigua, and my father from here, and I was 7, 8 years old when, and I don't, baby, me know if you be here, right? Glenn know about it too. In this, I tell you, there was a window here in the 70s.
Like we in the same age.
Yeah, baby, man, you just reach. In the 70s, right? The early 70s, the term we used to use when I was wrong up. You know what I'm saying? The wrong one. It used to be a Saturday morning thing. They would be targeting people because they know people that home for a walk. And it was bad.
It was bad.
And we found that to be very, very insensitive, and we didn't like it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And to see it now being so accepted is scary.
It is. It
Oh,
really
gosh,
is.
man.
It really is. And that's the thing. The thing about it is a lot of people don't realize what immigrants are, right? They consider immigrants just undocumented folks. An immigrant is anybody that migrated from one place to the next, right? And so they're not realizing, okay, if your grandfather wasn't born here, you have immigrants in your family. You know what I mean? But they don't look at it like that. And it's that stereotype that gets people into this classism and elitism that really drives me crazy.
I don't enjoy having my conversation with Malik Sikuka. He's a Caribbean, Pan-African, right? I'm going to be honest with you. I know some multi-generational Virgin Islanders, whether it be crucial or whatever. And you talk to them and you'll be stunned to hear when they say, my grandfather come from Barbados.
Yeah, you know, exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah, and you would never think,
Right.
with how long you've known them, you know the family, the first or second generation, and when they let you know, look now, you go through my lineage. Somebody come out of St. Lucia. Somebody come out of St. Kitts Nevis. You know what I'm saying? And I love hearing that because it really speaks to the Caribbeanism
Right.
of us.
Correct.
So, rough now, but it had something fermenting all along. America ain't America no more, man.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And that's painful. No, don't get me wrong. I ain't promoting illegal activity.
Correct.
Right? But let's face it. People move because they want a better lives for themselves, for the children. You know, and 99% of the time is economic based.
Correct.
99.
Correct.
Right? So, you know, that part done. My soapbox done with that. When we come back, we're gonna go to 2 weeks down the road because I see you got events on the 16th, 17th,
Right.
as well as that supermarket wish list 2 weeks from tomorrow. So let me talk about it and then take back tonight.
Okay.
On the 23rd, Sheleene Gumbs, my childhood friend, she used to sing back in the
sing.
day when we would have you walk with Schneider.
Yeah.
Schneider, some of my students, right?
Yes.
Department that held back in the day. We take a break. Be back right after this. And we're back here at Analyze This. We got Sheleene comes from the Women's Coalition of St. Croix, WCSC. Yes. Right? Let me get a microphone there for the big shot this morning. Good thing. So, by the way, how Clemma?
She's good. She's good.
And my friend from the center, the resource center in St. Thomas.
Anya, she's good as well.
Good?
But everybody busy though, because you know it was also the end of the fiscal year right before we roll into October. So you know how that went. You know how that goes. Trying to get everything together. So yeah.
That's good. So more events on the 16th. You got the National Purple Day.
Yes.
Domestic violence.
For the schools, right? So we try to get the schools involved. And so what we're doing is we're organizing with the schools so that they can have their students wear purple. And we're sending the schools a pledge so that they could pledge against domestic violence. Because we have an outreach worker that goes out, Darlene Springer, and she's starting to have to start in pre-K, right? With the behavior and the lack of conflict resolutions and the things that the children are experiencing, because you know sex produces children, not parents. And so a lot of times they are not learning the conflict resolution because they're coming into people who've had children from domestic violence relationships a lot of times. So it's starting to look normal to them, but when they get into class and they start to hit and they start to have these behaviors, we're now having to go earlier and earlier. You know, like at first we were starting in the high schools, and then it moved down to middle schools, down to elementary. Now we into Head Start and, you know, pre-Head Start at this point in time, just to talk about how we are able to communicate with each other and how we are able to have conflict resolution without having violence. Violence has been the go-to, unfortunately, in a lot of ways, even in how, you know, a lot of us got raised. We never got an explanation as to why things were wrong. We got hit first. And so we learned that, not realizing the impact that it was going to have. Hitting became the way that you made people do things, right, without explanation. So they're doing it mindlessly instead of having the conversation so like people understand what's going on. So, you know, we're asking the schools to do that, and we're doing that on the 16th. Because that's National Purple Day. Because October has five Thursdays in it. So, you know, usually on the third Thursday is when we would do the Take Back the Night. But because we have an extra Thursday, we wanted to, you know, focus on our schools and the domestic violence and things that are turning into that. Like when you hear third graders talking about they got boyfriend, poor me. You know, I know at that point I dated, right? Because I'm like, in third grade, I wasn't thinking about a boyfriend. That was just not the thing. You know what I mean? But if we have to start talking to kids at that age, children at that age, about relationships, then you know that there's a lot of things that are going on, you know, and give them some information, pass out some information, let them know that social media and the television is not what life is supposed to look like. Those are actors, you know what I mean, and not make it their reality as well. So we want to do that on the 16th. Okay. That's good. And then on the 7th.
So we're not assuming nothing no more.
No.
Dealing with the children them.
No. No.
Assumption window done.
Yeah, when you have 11 and 12-year-olds still getting pregnant, you know you have to have the conversation. Like, you know, you have to have the conversation because obviously there's something missing. You know what I mean? There's
stop. You say 11 and 12 actually.
Yeah. Because as soon as you can get your period, you can get pregnant. Like, come on, don't act, Neville.
No, but I'm just talking about the prevalency.
Right.
Here and in the Virgin Islands. Don't tell me, I'm begging you please, don't tell me that
they're not high.
Okay.
The numbers are not high, but it does happen.
I mean, more than zero is a problem though.
Correct.
You check what I'm saying? Because
which is why we're doing this.
You're not at 11, at 11 and 12, you're not parental ready.
Right.
You're not period ready. You know what I'm saying? So,
right.
Okay.
So, and hence the reason us going into the schools. We need to talk about this, right? We need to talk about this.
I was just concerned that you're telling me that it's happening too frequent here in the Virgin Islands.
One time is too frequent for me, right?
You're right.
And so because of that, if there's any at all, then we need to talk about it. We need to talk about it not just to the girls, but to the boys too, because the girls don't get pregnant by themselves.
No.
You know what I mean? And so we have to talk to them about it. Hence the reason why us, you know, using this opportunity to use this day to focus on the schools. You know, don't hit, you know, don't hurt, have conversations and be respectful of each other.
I like how you don't be aggressive in attack. You don't back. You look like. I'll just say this here.
However you want. Really.
No. There was a time where when we talking to people, we would be, sensitive to how they receiving me. But when I don't hear you, when you don't come here, you done with that sensitive thing talk. You don't be aggressive. You ain't got time to acute. It was basically what he's saying. You know what I mean?
And the reason why is because over the years, I mean, like, I've been at the coalition nearly 30 years at this point, right? Yeah. And so the reason why it's gotten to that point is because we're aggressive on every other subject.
Well, let me ask this question. Have you seen a change with you in terms of how you deal with domestic violence issues and issues that are brought to the Women's Coalition?
I do. In terms of how I treat my clients, the people that come into the office, how we treat them, we approach them.
And I talking about when you first reach, or 10 years in, or year 20, and now you're approaching year 30. I mean, we got to grade ourselves. We got to look at ourselves.
So I've definitely changed.
So that's what I'm asking.
And I've changed because domestic violence has changed. Okay. Right? We don't have the
Don't really concerned so much about why you changed. I want to know if
I did. Changed. I did.
You check what I'm saying?
I did change.
Okay, good.
Because what I thought me, right? It was before is not.
I'm big. Sports is my thing. Mm-hmm. I'm a sports junkie, right? Mm-hmm. And one of the gripes that I have, and I'm in media now, but one of the gripes I have in sports in particular is the media being critical of a particular athlete, a particular team, a coach, whatever. Are you critical of yourself as a media person, covering that sport or that person? You know what I'm saying? So I think you should. You should like when I was a senator, I would look back over my transcripts to see how I was speaking. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Things I would say, maybe I should have said this differently. Mm-hmm. Stuff like that. So that's why I asked that question for you.
Yes.
Have you seen that transformation from when you first got there and now you are institutionally incomparable? Because you've seen 20 plus years, approaching 30 years of incidents that you've processed and you've learned to see things differently and all that stuff.
Yes, I have.
Okay.
I've changed a lot.
Okay.
Because when I first started at the coalition, I was under the impression that the system was set up for victims. And as I went through it, I realized that it's not. You know what I mean? It's the criminal justice system. I thought that was a joke. I thought that was just because that was the name of it. But when a victim is a witness in a case, then it's not about the victims. Mm-hmm. It really is the criminal justice system. And so a lot of my mindset about how to assist people going through domestic violence situations and their ability to feel safe, like even in the community, has changed. Hence the reason I have gotten more aggressive and forwardstanding.
I've been grading you. Mm-hmm. You know that hence is your favorite word, right?
It is. It is my favorite word because the other word you can't use on the radio.
You know what I'm saying? You've said it 3 times already for the word. You know what I'm saying? That's your favorite word. So I just want you to know that I'm clocking you, right?
Yes.
And hence is your favorite word.
It is my favorite word. And I do that too in my office. I'm a pattern person, so I count words.
One of my listeners, tell her I am stealing her quote. Sex produces children, not parents. Close quote. Okay? So they bite in, and
I'm fine. I'm actually gonna put it on a T-shirt. I've given up.
Bite away, audience. Okay, listen up. Bite away, man, because it is not only factual, but I think it resonates.
It does.
If it doesn't, then that's a problem.
Correct.
You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Okay, good. So we're good with that.
Yes.
Now, a purple evening. We got Sip and Pain going on the 17th.
Yes.
Looking forward to that.
Yes, I am.
Your face done light up already.
I am looking forward to it. 2 Fridays
from today.
Yes, I am looking forward to it. And it's because we don't get an opportunity to create at the coalition in terms of that kind of creativity. We have to come up with creative ways to be able to have other people see where they have the options to leave or the options to be a better version of themselves, to get out of abusive relationships, to overcome sexual assault, to overcome stalking, or when they've gone through what is trafficking as it applies to the Virgin Islands, or even if they're survivors of homicide. We find creative ways to help them to become better people, but a lot of times it's not outside themselves. So this is an opportunity for us to have people create an image outside themselves. And for me, that's a great thing, because then they get to see it doesn't make a difference whether you're perfect or not. It's just that you did it from yourself. And it's something that you can take with you when you're done. And I think it's a nice evening to relax, have good conversation in a comfortable setting. And so we're looking forward to it. It's $50. It's on Eventbrite. It goes up today. It went up today, actually. It's on Eventbrite. It's $50. If you add the fees, it comes to about $55, because Eventbrite charges. But it's manageable. And so we want people to come out and just relax. Jasmine is going to be leading it, and so we are really, really grateful for her dedicating her time to be able to do this. And it's something that we're looking forward to. It's going to be up at the community center, which is up by us. We have a patio and we have an interior that we can use, and it's just a place where you'll be able to feel safe. It's a safe space, and be as creative as you want to be. So we're really looking forward to it. And wear something purple.
This is Fisher Street.
Yes. Well, it's you can come in from the Fisher Street. It's actually the East Street building now.
East Street building, okay.
Right, but the entrance would be on the Fisher Street side.
Okay, good. And then, of course, you mentioned the supermarket, the second supermarket wish list campaign.
Yes.
Will be the day after.
Yes.
All right? So after again, nice on Friday night, back to it.
Yes.
With the wish list campaign Saturday morning. And the final event, Take Back the Night, a silent march and rally, which is historically something everybody looks forward to.
Yes.
5:30 to 8.
Yes.
Talk about that.
And so we gather at the fish market in Frederickstead. We walk down on the waterfront, down to the Budo Park, where we have a rally.
We head north on Strand Street.
I have this past year. I don't know which is north and south. So down the road to,
Yeah, man.
Yes.
Well, I'm going to walk with you.
Thank you so much. I
Okay.
appreciate that.
Sandy Point is south.
Okay.
Hams Bluff
Is
north.
not. Okay, so we walk in north, yes.
Okay.
Yes. Thank
So we
you.
go from the fish market to the Frederickstead bandstand
Yes.
along the most picturesque street in
Yes.
maybe the world,
Right.
right? With the pier and all that
Yes.
stuff.
Yes.
Right? So, okay. I like that.
Yes.
Strand Street. I think north on Strand Street.
Yes.
That's good.
So wear your purple, come out. It's a silent march, so turn off your phone when you reach. I'm going to tell you anyhow, because I'm going to be up at the top walking down with everybody. It's a silent march. We give you the names of the people who we've lost here to walk with. You can pick a name if there's a name that you want in particular. Just look for somebody that works at the coalition so you can try and get that name. We have banners that you can carry made by children over the years, and you get a candle to walk with. And so we walk down to the clock tower, the Eliza McBean clock tower, and we have our rally there. This year for the coalition is especially sensitive, because usually we honor a family of somebody that was lost to domestic violence. But this year has, for the coalition, we've had our own losses. And so we're honoring our sheroes, which are 2 staff members that we lost, right? They've been Brenda. I know most people know Brenda Lewis. We're honoring her. She died in January of this year. In May, Sarita Fleming, who's been with the coalition was with the coalition for probably about 3 or 4 years. She's a newcomer. We also lost her in the same year. So while doing all the other stuff that we're going through our grieving process, our lives have changed in the coalition because we've lost these people. And so we are honoring them this year. So we will still have the shoe project like we always do. We'll still have all the other things, but we are going to honor Brenda and Sarita this year, because we have to give honor where honor is due. And if we can't honor our own, then, we kind of being hypocritical. So we're making sure that we give honor to those that we know have been doing the work and have been sheroes for us.
Sorry on the loss.
Thank you.
Right. And also, by the way, one of my listeners sent me an email, said breast cancer and domestic violence, the connection. It said increased risk factors, barriers to care, impact on survivorship, psychological and emotional impact, public health perspective.
Yes.
It said, so she texted me, she said they are not mutually exclusive.
They're not.
You know what I'm saying? So,
No, which is why my earrings are pink and purple. Because I understand the connectivity, and a lot of people don't understand how stress impacts your health, right? And a domestic violence relationship is one of the most stressful relationships, one of the most stressful things, because you not only have to look after yourself, but you have to look after somebody who keeps moving the mark as to where you're supposed to be.
Let me talk about this crazy Caribbean cliche. If he don't bang me, he don't love me.
Right, because that came from slavery and we just didn't get over it. I know that sounds strange, right?
No,
But
no,
when
no,
you
no, no,
really
no, no.
look
It's
at
not
it,
true because we've heard it,
right?
Even though hitting a woman, I don't condone that, but there are women. There were women who literally embraced this mentality.
They did, and that's because we never talked about an alternative, right? When you
No, I would like for some woman to just when the man tries something, she range back and like, no man, you gonna get a couple cuff. Well, you check
that happens.
I know it happened. I shouldn't be encouraging it on the radio, right? But when one assumes that they could dominate somebody,
right,
and then they get a response they didn't expect,
right,
then the fear factor will kick in.
It
And
does.
you know what I'm saying?
and strangely enough, like one of the things
Stop laughing, because you're making me laugh.
Okay,
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah,
But
no,
one
I'm
of the
just joking.
strange things about it is when that doesn't happen, and I don't know how you're gonna take it, but it is what it is. Right. But men are emotionally weaker in a lot of ways than women are.
But you think man don't know that?
I don't think they realize that women know that.
They might use their ego as a shield to act like they don't know. But
Right.
they're acting. They know.
acting, right.
They know.
And so, one of the things that has happened over the years, one of the things that, Clemma and Mary and, we've all been talking about for years, we've been trying to warn everybody, the women are going to get tired and they're going to start retaliating. They're going to hit back, and so we need to stop it from now. We need to make sure that we have things in place where there's conflict resolution. We start to be able to talk about these things so that we don't get it back. And so, what's the funny thing? A woman would get beaten and never make a police report, and a man get hit one time, he calling the police.
You see, Glenn, how they taking liberty with it. They taking liberty with the boy them this man.
No, I'm not.
But there's something, but
It's the
It's
truth.
the truth.
It's the truth. And so, we are trying
Oh,
to
but
make sure we
you know why
change
we don't
that.
call? Because we don't really want it to get to the point where
Everybody know you get beat now, though.
I mean, so.
Yeah.
Look, man, good to see you, man.
You too.
And
Always.
come back again one time during the month.
Okay, no
For
problem.
sure.
All
Okay,
right.
we work on that.
Okay.
I appreciate that. That's Sheleene Gumbs from the Women's Coalition St. Croix, WCSC.
yes.
Right? A number of events that we're going to go through them again throughout the month. Okay, be back right after this. Thank you, Sheleene.
All right, thanks.
Okay. and we're back here on Analyze This, and I definitely want to thank Sheleene Gumbs. Don't forget, October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, also breast cancer month as well. Okay, so pink and purple are the colors for October. Okay, and they got a number of events. And the next one tomorrow, they got a supermarket wish list campaign tomorrow, right, from 9 to 3 p.m. The market in West, formerly Plaza West, and Cashew-less up here in the same farm area. And then there's a virtual forum on Wednesday, Immigration and Victims of Domestic Violence, Sexual Assault, and Their Rights. And then the following Thursday, October 16th, right, they got the National Purple Day Against Domestic Violence, and then the Friday, the Purple Evening Sip and Paint, and then the Saturday, another supermarket wish list campaign, right? So we're getting a call from Asbot Pata because I don't know. I hope I really didn't believe that I wasn't going to dedicate some time to this. Back in 2021, the Yankees had started off slow, and the Red Sox had gotten off to a good start, and there was a doubleheader at Yankee Stadium, and they were ready to write off the Yankees. This is the summer of 2021, remember this, right? And the Yankees swept the doubleheader, swept the series, went on and win like 14 in a row. Then they turn around and lose like 12, 11 in a row. It was just a real up and down year. And both teams made it to the playoffs that year. Back then, the first run was just a one game bullet game, and the Red Sox beat the Yankees. And the Red Sox did something the very first year that I ran for senator in 2004. Right? Yankees won the first 3 games of the American League Championship Series in 2004. And the Red Sox came back and won games 4, 5, 6, and 7. And the term was reverse the curse, is what the Red Sox did. Because the Red Sox hadn't won a World Series since 1918. And then in 2004, after they reversed the curse, beat up on the Yankees, because the Yankees had beaten them up in the playoffs the year before in 2003 in a Game 7 when Aaron Boone hit a home run in the bottom of the ninth or bottom of 10th inning, whatever it was, to send the Yankees to the World Series. And they beat them before in 99. But ever since 2004, the Yankees hadn't beaten Boston in a playoff series until 2025. And I going to enjoy this morning because and I make sure I call Asbot Pata, because I remember I called him that day when the Yankees had swept that doubleheader 4 years ago, because a lot of us Yankee fans wanted to know when are we going to experience euphoria again. And last night, Asbot, don't laugh, because what we had to do last night was we had to reverse of the curse. You check? And I know your friend in St. Thomas, they got do named Randy Knight. Ain't got nobody love the Boston Red Sox. Oh, no, let me put it this way. Ain't got nobody love their team as much as Randy Knight love the Boston Red Sox as Bud Potter. You know that, and I know that, right?
No, that is a fact. That is a fact.
Yeah, and that's not hyperbole, right? I'm making a factual statement there, right? Right?
Yeah, that is a fact. That is a fact.
Listen,
Neville,
yeah.
last night was off the chain.
Yes, sir.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
Listen, I did like one minute of the football game, and then a whole lot of minutes of the baseball.
That's why I tell Kyle Fleming earlier, I say it didn't even dawn on me until like late in the second quarter that the Thursday night game with the Rams and the 49ers were going on. I was so focused and overcoming how the Red Sox has had us playoff-wise for over 20 years.
Man, look, honestly, if I can be honest with you and your listeners, I was afraid of the Red Sox.
Me too.
When we drew the Red Sox as our wild card opponent,
I didn't like it or no. I didn't like it or no. Oh.
I was concerned. I was hoping to get like Cleveland
or Detroit or somebody. Yes. not because I'm afraid of the Boston Red Sox, you know, but that OBA from 2004, right?
And they have a serious
That
history.
voodoo when they choke me with them pain and as much, you know why it was painful for me? That was the first year I was running for Senate, and you had worked with me, Tanya, Allah. We walk and make sure our. Remember, I win the primary, you know. I was the favorite going into the general, and I run first in the general. And the only thing that undermined that special 2004 was how the Red Sox, not that the Red Sox beat us, you know, how they came back from dead.
Yeah.
Right? And look, we win the first two at Yankee Stadium. We win. I even put it up last night. We won Game 3 in Boston by a football score 19-8.
Yeah, I remember.
I said, this thing done. Next thing you know, extra innings, we lose Game 4. Extra innings, we lose Game 5. By the time we get back to Yankee Stadium, we forget how to win, and then I reverse the course. And for the last 21 years.
Listen, it is so crazy. Okay, listen, I have a 11-year-old son. I don't know why I expose myself like this, but he's he is into his baseball now. Okay,
yeah,
he's into his baseball, and you know, he's in Croix there. And first thing he called me this morning, Daddy, we win. He couldn't step and watch the game. So he now is a big Yankee fan, you know. And Daddy, we win. I say, yes, Indigo, we win. And boy, he was so happy.
Look now,
Listen,
I was at 2+2, and when I saw the first inning, I said to myself, but wait, this boy that pitching for the Yankees, that man can't get a run on that fastball. He humming tonight.
Listen,
all we got to do is score a couple runs and we're going to be all right.
Yeah,
I could have never imagined Cam Schlittler. I got to make sure I pronounce his name correctly because we don't have a radio station. Right? Right? Would have been so dominant and record-setting last night. Wow.
Listen, Neville. You know, you have to understand how I operate. When the Yankees lose, I don't watch Sports Center for the whole day.
Wait, you too? And as a man, Sports Center is like part of my DNA.
Listen,
and when my team them lose, I don't want to watch no TV no more at all.
Well, I watch other things, but I don't watch no Sports Center.
Sports, yeah.
No sports talk show, nothing. Until that come out of the system and the Yankees get back on track. Okay? So that's how it is with me. I have it really bad.
Look, let me put it to you this way, right? I am a diehard Yankee fan.
Yeah, man.
Right? And we're going to play Toronto now, right? I ain't into losing, but because we beat Boston,
man, look, that make the whole playoff.
It look like everything else from is gravy.
That's correct. You are correct. Listen, if Boston had beat us,
I couldn't have lived it down. Let me tell you something. Let me tell you something. Let me tell you how painful this. Let me tell you how painful that 2004 loss was. We're coming down towards the latter part of the campaign, and I could hear. Remember, Sam Top used to be the Top Talk was the #1 radio show in the Virgin House.
Yeah, for sure.
And when I turn on Top Talk, the morning after, Randy Knight the being on gloating, man. And at the time he was the owner for the station, right? This is WVWI, right? Radio 1.
Yeah.
And he just did calling in on behalf of Red Sox Nation and all that stuff, and I had to live with that. The only thing that saved me was, I believe it was either the following Tuesday or the Tuesday after that, I win the election, so I had some consolation. But it's been 20 plus years since we get over this albatross. And I'm glad that we did it in dominating style. It wasn't a fluke last night. It wasn't a fluke. We look, nobody for the Red Sox touched third base last night, you know.
Of course not.
Okay.
Of course not. Okay. This youngster, when I saw him pitch his first couple of games, I say, yes, he have it going on.
Yes, sir.
And he saved his best performance so far for this year for last night.
But sir, look,
you need it because we don't trust the bullpen too much.
Look, the bullpen, Look, no, even when Aramboon take you for the ninth inning, I was nervous
Yes.
because I know about the Red Sox OBR. That's a special OBR they got.
Oh
But
man.
that reliever that we brought in, we traded for him from the Pittsburgh Pirates. He has a real reliever demeanor. It's a personal thing with him. Ain't just about talent with sports, and you've played sports all your life. Ain't just about talent, you gotta have the right kind of mentality. And he has a closer mentality, and I good we get over that there. Now I got a joke for you though.
Uh-huh.
Ain't just the Red Sox, no. It's the Mets. Tanya them. All of them Mets fan when Wang Soto leave, right? and Ballimore, he believe he got better chance to win with the Mets, and he leave the Yankees after going to the World Series.
Listen.
Sign that $765 million contract and all them kind of thing.
So you don't know how much I'm rooting for the Mets to lose.
Look.
A lot of my good friends are Mets fans.
Me too.
Mets fans. But hey, it can't. It could, that's the only way it could be. The Mets had to go down, and they go down to Cincinnati.
Yes, sir.
And they couldn't win the game after a while.
Couldn't even make the playoffs, man.
Look, couldn't even make the wild card over Cincinnati.
Look, Asbot, me gonna lie to you. In a space of 5 days between Sunday and Thursday, I get 2 sweetbread with the Mets not making the playoffs, and the Yankees knocking out the Boston Red Sox.
That's good action.
That's sweetbread and black bread in one swoop. You check, but I got a joke for you. He's a former player. His name is Buck Martinez. He used to be a catcher for the Kansas City Royals and the Toronto Blue Jays. And now he's a commentator for the Toronto Blue Jays. Remember a couple of weeks ago we were playing Detroit, and Detroit come in and nearly knock off our head the first 2 games, and then we win the last game. Buck was on the Toronto broadcast saying the Yankees are not a good team. I don't care about their record. They don't do this, the bullpen this, all kind of stuff. Well, Buck Martinez is currently the announcer, the color commentator for the Toronto Blue Jays. So if we needed any kind of impetus or motivation to send a message going into Toronto, which is a beautiful city and a nice team, don't get me wrong. But since Buck want to talk how he want about the boogie down, the Bronx, well, let we go deal with he beginning Saturday, man. Yeah.
And I have and Neville, I have a strange feeling that the fact that we got past the Red Sox.
Agreed. We gonna something. We gonna excuse it. We gonna excuse.
It's going to bring such a calm. I think it's going to bring such a calm to the players that I believe Toronto might be in for some serious trouble.
Look now.
Serious trouble.
The way I see it, to me, our toughest mental hurdle always is the Boston Red Sox in American League, and we got them early. So now we just need to focus. And I'm telling you something. We win the series, and Aaron Judge and Stanton they knock no home run. Be careful.
Yeah. Yep.
Be careful. No, your boy Rufus Turnbull just text me and say, stop counting Soto money. No, me got no problem with the money.
And the money.
Because we were going to pay him the same amount of money.
Yes.
It's that he used us and auditioned in the Bronx, and then decided he wanted to play baseball in Queens. That's the problem. But we went with the money. That money funny.
Listen, and after all of that, Soto will always be a good player. He's an awesome player.
Yes, he is.
But the fact that they make the playoffs, that is just excitement. Like for Yankee fans, you don't know how deep this thing goes. Some people say, "Man, it's just a game. It's just a game." No, I'm a Yankee fan since I was 10 years old, living in Tatola, listening to the baseball game on WBMB radio.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Now, hold on. Asbot, I call in quick, and we only have a minute left. Good morning, caller.
Yeah.
Good morning, caller. How are you?
Good morning, Neville.
Yeah.
First time caller.
Yeah. Long time listener?
A long time.
Okay, good.
Now listen to me.
Yeah.
As good as the boy was pitching, Yankees win because of Chisholm.
The night before.
Well, exactly.
Oh no! We didn't win because of we survived because of survive.
Okay, he makes some hell of a play.
Yes,
remember?
and we named too. Volpe play excellent shortstop throughout the series, turning them plays at second base.
You remember
And
the
his
double
bat,
play?
Volpe bat start to come through too.
And Volpe bat start to come through. Yeah, what you say, Carla?
The double play that Volpe did.
Yes. He and Chisholm got excellent chemistry turning the double play. You're absolutely correct. What take you so long to call my show, man? You hear me as but gloating and you wait till 2 minutes to call, man? Oh God.
Listen, I had to call the station to get your number.
Oh, okay. I ain't gonna hold it against you. Who's your team? You a Yankee fan like we are? Let me know, no.
But of course.
Okay, no, that's all I need to know. I got a lot of Dodgers fans in St. Thomas like Pedrito Estrella and Hugo Haja and all of them. And we want them. So look, make sure to call back in. We're gonna do this again next week. Make sure to call back in. Okay?
Them man know it on
You got the number now, so make sure to call back in. Asbot, appreciate you helping me to carry this last segment. Good looking out. Okay? And look, and on behalf of the three of us and the Yankee Nation, go Yankees. Okay? Good thing. Enjoy the weekend. Enjoy the weekend, everybody.
All right.
Good thing.
The views and opinions expressed on Analyze This are entirely those of the on-air participants and do not reflect those of the station's board, management, staff, or underwriters.